fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction, he's got everything outside of both of them! Maloney!
Oh, he's taking Anderson! Anderson's up top!
Oh my god! Oh. Big crash! Oh my goodness, half the field's gonna get rolled!
Second very close. These guys are going to want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go!
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my god!
God, what?
Good evening and welcome back to the NASCAR iRacing series. We took 2 weeks off for what should have been the Olympic break, and now we're back here at Michigan, ready to go racing for 100 laps around this 2-mile racetrack. And it's the 2-mile tracks that have been on some of the best shows of the season so far. We're recreating what should have been the 2020 NASCAR Cup Series calendar in all its glory, right here on the iRacing Esports Network, presented by SimSpeed TV. My name, as always, Ryan Jones. Alongside me, Justin Prince, and joining us tonight, we've got Boyd Hogan here to provide some expert commentary throughout the evening. Justin, what are you expecting to see from today's race?
Speed, and more speed first off when it comes to Michigan, but second here tonight, Ryan. The drivers tonight are going to have to be calm and patient. As seen with the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series, for those who tuned in on Tuesday, it can be hard to break away. The draft is important. Track position is important. And overall this evening, Ryan, the man who can come up on top tonight is the one who can balance out that speed along with their tire wear, along with that patience throughout the pack to come away with the checkered flag.
Yeah, exactly right. And of course, throughout all this, we have to make a pit stop at some point as well. 100 laps, and if we go based off what we've seen already this season on these 2-milers, we should get a long green flag run at some point. So, Boyd, what's the fuel window for these cars?
Well, as long as you can stay in the draft, you'd be looking about 45 to 48 laps, depending on the gearing. I talked with some drivers here earlier on today, and they say, you know, if we're going green all the way to the end, looking for another one-stop, same way as what we were looking at in the Coke Series.
It's interesting you say shy of 50 laps in the draft, looking at a one-stop though, so things get a little bit dicey to the end if we go green all the way. You're going to have to make sure you're saving a bit of fuel over the course of your run. You might not want to be that car out in front punching that hole for the 30 or so drivers behind you on the racetrack. Qualifying at the moment is underway. 2 laps over the course of 5 minutes to do the fastest time you can. And Brian Mercurio, first driver across the line with a 37.724. Patrick Moose is second. Casting your eye over the field, Justin, we've got some pretty good drivers lining up today.
Yes, indeed. You have a couple drivers from that NASCAR race. Nathan Lyon on his secondary account, but Malik Gray on his main account tonight. We also have plenty of competitive drivers we've seen throughout the season, whether it's for Nexus Esports or whether it's been for Horizon or Bobby Dale Earnhardt's Legacy Esports. Many of those contenders have made their way to the racetrack tonight, many of which, including some of your drivers in that top pylon, are contenders for the Road to Pro Series standings like Brian Mercurio. He's been someone that's been really improving the past few weeks. He's someone that catches my eye. Also keep an eye on some of the others who we usually don't see too much in NAS competition, including Samuel Roush. He's into the race tonight in top split. Brad Wright, usually don't see him venture over to NAS from Road to Pro, as well as many others who have been shuffling around different teams and are ready to show what speed they have here on the broadcast tonight.
I'm probably going to see some 3-4 wide action over the course of our 100 laps. Seth Ryder goes fastest with 37.691. We're watching JD Willer Souza certainly not kept his nose out of trouble this season, but he's been up at the front quite a few times. He's been a part of a little bit of controversy over the course of the I think it was back at Texas. He had the incident battling for the lead, but as he comes across the line and puts himself somewhere, put him 12th. Boyd,
Yes, sir.
as a driver, how hard is it to stay consistent across all the different types of tracks? Obviously, this is a big, wide open 2-miler. And we got the Daytona Road Course next week. We've got short tracks, 1.5 mile cookie cutters.
I mean, you know, versatility is definitely hard to find with how accurate the sim is. There's certainly tracks that you got circled on the schedule as soon as it comes out, and there's ones you kind of bank on, you know, the guys around you and the teams to kind of help get you up to pace and get you up to speed. Michigan's kind of circled on the track, or circled as one of the tracks that a lot of these guys look forward to. You know, it's a track where your pace as a team kind of gets shown. And you know, setting up for Daytona, you know, coming out strong at Michigan and finishing well here is gonna be good, especially for the point situations going into Daytona next week.
A lot of drivers look at the NAS points and they see it as a bit of a crown jewel to finish up at the top of that Division 1, because it's a 36-week series over the course of the year. So consistency and being there week in, week out is quite the effort. As qualifying concludes itself, we can take a look at how our drivers line up here at Michigan. Grabbing the pole is Blake Neer. He'll start alongside Chris James, Seth Ryder, Joshua Campbell on row 2, Joe Schaffer Jr., Brian Mercurio starting on the 3rd row of the grid, and Seth the Merchant and Jonathan Hernandez from 7th and 8th, Tanner Love and Chris Wilhite from 9th and 10th.
Seth though starts in P11 tonight. Damon Gilbert making his first start in a long time in top split. He's working with George Bark for tonight's action from row number 6. JD Willis deep in the field in 13th with a 37.809. Mark Forkaba in 14th position alongside him. Patrick Moose, one of the favorites for tonight, was strong here back in the springtime. He'll start alongside Caden Rush. Gary Kite starts in 17th. Gabriel Mercurio, the last driver to put in a time. Rest of the drivers set via iRating and session timing. Donovan Strauss, Caden Honeycutt, the first of those 2 drivers, Ryan.
Yeah. Starting from 23rd, we've got Malik Ray, Justin Levine, James Mullins, Michael Abrams, Brendan Kola, Harrison Line, Samuel Roush, Eduardo Oliveira, and then final 7 drivers, Rowden, Hickson, Colton's right, Mullican, Hudson, they're all there. 37 drivers looking to vie for that race win. What's the weather looking out there today, Boyd?
Well, we got a 110-degree track. It means it's going to be hot, slick. Draft is still going to be big, but with how hot the track is, we saw, you know, the hotter it is, the more you can kind of break away from the draft, so the long run's going to be really big for these guys.
See the weather conditions on your screen. We'll have just the one pace lap. Good news, 2-mile racetracks, Justin. The caution length has been reduced, so only 2 laps under the cautions from what I've seen so far this week, which does present pros and cons. One of the cons is if you pick up a bit of damage, you don't have long to try and get it repaired.
Yeah, absolutely. And you never want to have damage here because this is such a very aero-dependent racetrack. You get any sort of significant damage, it can slow you down the straightaways. This is also, mind you, a bit different from the springtime because if you remember back to the spring, Ryan, that was when the new damage model made its debut for the Cup cars. After that race, it was switched off for the time being. And now, these drivers have a different type of damage to deal with. Yes, you're still going to have to deal and fix the damage. But it's not the same where, say, you knocked the TV panel off back in that time. It's still going to be significant to keep the car clean throughout the race, especially with so many strong cars having to fight for the mid to back pack tonight.
And watch how the field will condense down the back straight through 3 and 4 on this opening lap. They'll spread out just a fraction as they come to the green. But the draft is going to keep this field very close together. It's wide open, this racetrack. You might have to lift just a little bit in the pack. There's the dirty air. Take some of the downforce off the front of your car and tries to push you up the racetrack. But it almost races a little bit like Daytona or Talladega with how close the field is. As the run goes on, we expect the field to spread out as tyre wear becomes an issue and drivers have to lift off more and more through the corners. But early on, this is going to be wild. 100 laps at Michigan. Let's get the NASCAR iRacing Series back green on a Friday night here on the iRacing Esports Network. Green flag in the air, and we are underway.
Oh, but look at that in the back of the field, though. Half the field, for whatever reason, Ryan, just couldn't get up to the pace car. So at least 25th on back is already several seconds behind the result.
They were slowly getting out of pit road, which is unfortunately left them off the back of the field here with just our one pace lap. So Blake Neer leads them down the back straight. Seth Ryder running in behind him. Chris James falling to third. Up on top, first car using that second lane. Joshua Campbell's going to get by him as well. So not a good start for the front row sitter in the 32 of Chris James as we get lap one under the books in the field. Single files himself out across the stripe. As I say that, here comes Ryder for the lead of the race.
Yeah, and keep in mind that is a brand new sponsorship on that race car tonight for Seth Ryder. The team unveiled the new paint scheme earlier this afternoon throughout social media. New towing and transport company is on board for that machine. The team very excited with that baseball style type of design. And those cars, remember, have been quick throughout the week, it seems, Ryan. One of their drivers, Garrett Maines, who leads the overall points in the series, won on fuel mileage just this past Thursday round.
Yeah, of course, NASCAR iRacing Series multiple times throughout the week. There's open and there's fixed, but only runs about 5 times over the course of the entire week. So each time it goes up, there is a massive amount of participation, and it's a big effort just to win any one of those. We are, of course, always broadcasting the Friday night at 9 p.m. Eastern time slot for the Open Series, which quite a few times has been the strongest strength of field of the week, but not all the time.
Yeah, but you still have tonight a very strong field, a 5.4K average I rating for tonight's field, because in part, so many of the Road to Pro contenders jumped into the field. It's to the point where you have iRacing staff members racing in the field. Some of those drivers who didn't get going, Ryan, like Samuel Roush, he's a part of the iRacing's organization at their offices deep in the field. But look at this. Many of these drivers want to get that track position, not get that stuck feeling they felt like during the Coke race on Tuesday.
That was Tanner Love throwing a block on JD Willis down the back straight. And you can see, once Willis got to his back bumper, he shoved him forward and he fell back and into the clutches of Caden Honeycutt, who gets down to his inside. Chris James down there as well. Boyd, how important is the track position here? Got to imagine the closer you are to the front, the faster you can go.
Yeah, for sure. So the track position is very big for us here. You touched on it earlier on in the pre-race, Ryan. It races a lot like Daytona and Talladega, but the way that the air moves here just puts such an effect on the car that being back in 20th, it feels like Prince was saying, you know, you get that stuck feeling. Whereas if you're up in the top 5, you still get that draft off the leaders, but it doesn't hurt you so much because there's more air flowing to the car. So track position's huge. You're going to see blocks throughout the race, and sometimes it's going to be a little too aggressive, but I mean, you just got to do it, because if you get back in that pack, unless your car is just an absolute rocket, man, you're just stuck.
The track position definitely going to be key over the course of today's race. Speaking of aggressive, Campbell and Blake Neer almost banged doors through 1 and 2, and Neer just about struggling with the car up there. A little bit of a twitch and a bobble as he went through turn 4, and he falls back behind Seth Knoll, who's climbed his way into 3rd from 11th place. One of our big movers early on. Caden Honeycutt as well, 20th to 8th in the early running. So a few drivers looking to power through the field early on, as someone's got a great run coming out of turn 2. That's Caden Honeycutt. Takes it 3 wide, down on the low side, underneath Chris James. And he'll slide on through. That 6 car looks ominously fast early here, Justin.
Yeah, that is crazy quick. I'm curious at how much tape they put on the race car or something there, because it looks like it's extremely stable down the straights and really quick down the straights. To be able to pull enough draft to be able to make these moves. As you talked about, plus 15 already in the race, and he's been making it look easy. He's been taking advantage of slides like we've seen from Blake near on turn 2. Well, he's just been able to stick to the track like glue to be able to get all these spots and cut through the pack. He's one of only a couple who have actually been able to gain spots like he has.
But while he's doing that, the top 2 are stuck wheel to wheel. Seth Knoll and Seth Ryder. Joshua Campbell's got nowhere to go. He can't get a run, but I tell you who is about to get a run. Caden Honeycutt. About a car length back. Watch out of turn 2. He'll back it up. Turns down low, gets the power down, and here comes Honeycutt. Just gets to the right side of Campbell. He almost got into the back of him. Has been a little bit careful there. Now he's got nowhere to go. He's boxing on the outside. And this is what we refer to when we talk about it being a bit like Daytona and Talladega. Very easy to get boxed in.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He's got a teammate up in front of him who can be able to pull off. I'm surprised, though. Seth Knoll went straight to the bottom and broke the draft of his own teammate. And now, Caden Honeycutt's now stuck as the only Seller Esports machine. I don't think necessarily like that there. As contact!
Up the racetrack went Ryder into the side of Honeycutt. He goes up and keeps it off the safer barrier. He's not happy about that. It'll drop him a lot of the ground he made up. Going all the way back outside the top 10 now. Big shame for him. Boyd, take a look at that car. How's it look? Any damage to that left side?
It looks like we got a little bit of left front there, for sure. But as long as we can get it down pit road, I think he'll be all right. It's just a little bit of left front damage. The aero's going to hurt him here, for sure. But the draft will keep him in it. And as soon as we get that first caution or the first set of pit stops, I'm sure he'll get it taken care of. We haven't seen the last of Caden Honeycutt in this race.
All right, we'll bookmark him a little bit later on once that damage is repaired. So, Seth Knoll leads after that aggressive move across the nose of Seth Ryder. A lap or two ago, and he's trying to break the draft. He's got himself out to about a quarter of a second, but down this straight, you can see how much the chasing pack closes in. It's Seth Ryder, Joshua Campbell, JD Willis, Blake Neer, and Chris James, the top 6, all running nose to tail, bumper to bumper, side by side. Right on board now. So I think this is Patrick Moose down the back straight.
Yeah, just waiting patiently behind Chris James, who's a part the past few weeks or so, part of the eSport Racing Group switch there just after Kentucky. One of his quickest runs so far in NAS competition this season, but the recovery drive for Honeycutt already decently up back to P9. I think some of the drivers may give him some leeway here, but others, as we've seen, they're willing to be very aggressive to try and make sure they hold on to the track position. Don't forget, though, Ryan, we talked about that fuel number, the very top in about 48. A lot of drivers may start saving. Patrick Moose apparently starting to clutch in a lot in turn 3, as well as a couple of the other cars as the others are fighting.
Check out Seth Ryder. Seth Knoll throwing the block down the back straight, and Ryder getting to his outside and then getting very tight on him through 3 and 4. Now he does the crossover, gets to the left-hand side. That's the inside that he wanted. And so Seth Ryder back to the lead. But as they battle, everyone is right behind them, looking for a way through themselves. Blake Neer has got himself back into 3rd and to the left side of Seth Knoll. And now Ryder with a one to try and shake the draft up front.
This is extremely aggressive here at this point. We're seeing drivers try and snake down the backstretch like it's lap 95 at this point. But they know that they want to be able to be single file. You don't want to be side by side and put yourself in a bad position as near contact on that block. Just a slight touch.
Blake Neer looked for a moment like he was going to make it 3 wide and go through the middle. And Seth Ryder just edged across to make sure that didn't happen. Just had the room up his sleeve to be able to make that happen without contact between himself and the 5 car running 3rd. Behind Blake Neer, Joshua Campbell and Caden Honeycutt. Well, might not even need to come to pit road to see him again because he's doing well. and that damage is not slowing him down. If it is, his car's so fast that it doesn't make a difference. Back into 4th.
What were we saying, Boyd, before we went up to air? That the Nexus cars are fast?
I told you. The Nexus cars are fast, and Caden Honeycutt is one of the best on the sim, man. I told you we hadn't seen the last of him. He's coming right back. And I'll tell you who else I got my eye on. Blake Neer. This guy loves Michigan. He comes out to NIS every single time, whether he knows he's got a good car or not. I'm looking at him right now. He's going to take the lead at some point here, and I'm curious to see if he can drive off from Seth. But we got Honeycutt underneath Noodle right now.
And gets it done. Clears him. And Seth Knoll tuck in behind. So top 4 run single file for the first time in about 17 laps since we started this race. A little bit of a gap forming to 5th on back, but I imagine it'll shut down relatively quickly. It is a sign of how easy it is for the gaps to open and close. A bit of an ebb and flow throughout the field as drivers run side by side and hold each other up, and then they gather it up and quickly make time again, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's just about picking the spots, too. You don't want to just force a 3-4 wide, take a position, and then risk having an incident, especially this early. You just wait for the times to take the run and look for the right pockets. If you pick the right choice, congratulations, you can gain time. Make the wrong choice, congratulations, you have a bad corner exit, and then you are up for grabs for everybody else behind you. So you just have to be always looking out for a chance to move forward, while making sure as well you think about the strategy and think about the tires for the rest of the run.
We're on board with Matt Forcarper here. He's running a 9th. Everyone is now single file inside the top 10. And you can see that they're all latched onto each other. He's 9th, but he's 1.2 seconds off the lead, so it's not far at all. As there you go, side by side up at the front. That's Honeycutt and Seth Reiter. Ryder loses out. Honeycutt to the lead from 20th place. He's come through the field twice already on lap 19. Now that is the gauntlet laid down for the rest of the field.
Now the true test again is going to be how long can he hold on with some of the draft, because it's obvious. He's the fastest car in the corners by far. He's quicker than his own teammates by a couple tenths per lap. So he's got the car, I think, to try and hold on. It's just about how this draft, with groupings such as this working together, can he keep the gap big enough to where they can attack again before they open up the pit window?
You're going to have to stay out as long as you can, right, Justin? Because obviously with the window being just shy of 50 laps, you can't afford to do an undercut, because if you do, there's no way you're making it home on one stop if it stays green.
Yeah, and remember, there was an early caution in that race on Tuesday for the Coke Series, which helped a lot of the drivers be able to make it a one-stop the rest of the way to top off and fuel and go to the back. We haven't had that type of scenario yet to make it the case. So a lot of these drivers may get close on the fuel, to say the very least. And remember, I think, Boyd, you can definitely hook on this as well. You need to also pick the right time, but also have a group of cars just about in some cases to work with, because of that importance of the draft.
Yeah, 100%. You lose about 3 or 4 tenths just solo car versus when you have a draft. If you have friends to come down pit road, you have a bunch of assistants right as soon as you're coming off of pit road. And if you can get it packed up tight enough and everybody's on the same page, you get 3 or 4 cars lined up together, they can pull the pack by themselves as long as they're efficient enough on the pit stops, Justin.
And that is very much like Daytona and Talladega. 2 mile, 2.5 mile. Drives almost the same with this package we've got at the moment. High downforce, low horsepower on our NASCAR Cup cars. The Toyota Camry, the Chevy Camaro, and the Ford Mustang. Seth Knoll gets inside of Seth Reiter. So he's gone from the lead, and now he's struggling to hold on to third.
Seen on screen as well, though, some of the other drivers are coming through the field now that the long run pace settles in. Remember back in the springtime, about 20 laps or so into the race was where the long run cars started to work their way in. The Bobby Dale Earnhardt Legacy Esports machines starting to gain positions going Justin Levine. James Mullins, very strong driver for Nexus Esports, one of their top setup builders as well. He's now plus 11. And oh, by the way, we haven't forgot about the co-drivers deep in the field. Nathan Lyon, plus 18, while Ray's been stuck in 21st.
Yeah, so Harrison Lyons gained 18 spots, but Ray's gained 1. And Lyons actually jumped ahead of him despite starting 15 spots lower. So that car is struggling just a bit at the moment, that Rowdy Energy Toyota. We'll see whether he's got some pace once we get settled in for a bit of a longer run.
Well, this is getting a little too aggressive for third spot at this point. Already a ton of blocking there from Seth Noel to try and hold up Seth Ryder there.
You were going to just say Seth then, weren't you? And then you realised that they're both called Seth?
Yes.
And looking on is JD Willis as Ryder almost gets into the back of him. They're having to lift off now right throughout the field, even the leader, heading into the corner because the tyres are... Well, they have seen better days. And this is what we were talking about. It'll run very much like a super speedway early. And the longer we go, the more the field's going to spread out. It was a 6-second spread from first to last. It's now 8.5 seconds. And the top 10 covered by 2.3.
Here's a couple of key notes, though. Already, almost 2 seconds of fall off in 25 laps. But another big key, the average pace in the last 10 laps. Caden Honeycutt, he's been the quickest. The second quickest is still that Oscar Mayer Ford Mustang that's deep in the field from Nathan Harrison Lyon. JD Willis, who's now in this lead pack, just as quick, just a couple 100ths off that pace. So that's where the long run's starting to come into play, and the drivers who may have started up towards the front, who are dropping, are a good 0.2 on average off the pace in the past 10 laps, Ryan.
That drop-off is quite significant. And so if we do get a caution, we would expect everyone into pit lane for some fresh tyres. Tyre bank shouldn't be an issue today. Despite the significant drop-off, they've got a few tyres up their sleeves down on pit road, of course, remember. No unlimited sets now in this competition. How many have they got, Boyd?
For tires?
Yeah.
I believe that we got 4 sets down in the pit road right now, so unless we get a spew of late race yellows or mid race cautions, I don't think tire issues are going to be a problem.
This should be fine there. And look at this. This looks a little bit dicey. Almost 3 wide, but not quite. Can often be a very awkward scenario as they really shut the door on each other heading into one. That was Justin Levine almost becoming the meat in the sandwich there. And look at the pace he's got coming off the corner, having to get out of it. As the 24 in front of him, Joshua Campbell, just didn't pick up that throttle as early as Levine would have wanted.
Yeah, Campbell's just fallen right off the cliff. Remember, was in the lead pack in the first 5-10 laps. So his car was definitely set up for the short run. It's going to be a rough rest of the race, I have to say, though, for Campbell based on what we're seeing. But for drivers like Levine, who are cutting the way through the field, if they can get by him without losing too many spots, I think they're golden. Just wait for the corner exit. Here's the thing, too. If these cars get more and more held up like this because of Campbell, it's allowing one orange, red, white, and blue machine in the backdrop to say hello. Take a look. It's one of our Coke drivers now joining the fun, too.
Harrison Lyon, Nathan Harrison Lyon, whatever you want to call him. He's fast, and he's coming. 15th. Plus 22. Levine is finally able to get by Campbell after being held up substantially for a couple of laps. And let's see how quickly Lyon can come through. He's going to go 3 wide straight away to the inside. And that should be positions taken through 1 and 2. He gasses it up, moves up in front of them. And just like that, Lyon's through.
I'll be quite frank, if this race continues the way it is, he might be able to reel in the lead pack, because one of the main things that helped him and some of his technical alliance members was pit stop entry and exit. They gained a fair amount of time and broke away in the groups. Pair that to the speed, though, of Malik Ray, he's just not been having it tonight. His pace in the top past 5 laps has been decent. It's just he has been completely stuck and just hasn't been able to build up enough speed down in the corners to build up momentum to then in turn take advantage by the time they get to the corner exit down the straights in some cases.
Yeah, you're on board with him there. He's picked up 2 spots since we last checked in on him. So he's +3. About to make it +4. That's Cater Rush just up in front of him, alongside him, behind him. Rush lifted off there down the back straight to allow Malik through. Further up the order though, looking at the 21. In fact, that was further back. That was towards the back. Samuel Roush, the back of the field. Well, they haven't fallen away, but they're still very much in touch with the midfield. It's just that the dirty air is forcing them to a lot slower, and they've been racing pretty aggressively back there.
Almost a little frustratingly aggressive because they're holding each other up when they do a lot of that fighting. Side by side can hold you up at least a couple tenths a lap in some of the corners. So you have to, again, pick your spots, and they just haven't had that because so many drivers who haven't had good starts are trying to get spots and try and get themselves track position, while others who have been falling backwards, they're still trying to hold on to what they have right now to then in turn have that for when the caution flag comes out so they don't have to start, say, in the case of Seth the Merchant, he was a -13, he was in the top 10 before. Now, he's all the way back in 20th. You kind of don't want to restart in 20th. Let's just say that on a restart here.
And Boyd, it must be frustrating. I don't know if you could even relate to this, because you're generally pretty fast, but you started at the back. Harrison Lyons started dead last. He's now up inside almost the top 10, whereas you can get stuck back there and can't seem to find any progress. It's going to be pretty frustrating as a driver. You've got to make sure you don't start overdriving it, and when you see that really fast guy just tear through the field.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I mean, there have been, a few weeks here and there where we've kind of missed it on the setup, and you just kind of have to bring home what you can and work with what you can. I mean, Kentucky was a prime example of that for us. You get stuck in traffic and your car just isn't quite handling the right way because, like I was talking about earlier, you get outside that top 10 and you just hit a wall of air, and it's so hard to start making your way through it. And if your car's not set up and ready for that, then it's so hard to battle. It's a lose-lose. You start overdriving it, and then all of a sudden you're not 2 tenths of a second off the pace or 3 tenths. You're half a second, or maybe even 6, 7, 8 tenths. It's kind of you kind of just along for the ride at that point. You make whatever you can of it on pit stops and see what you can come up with, and hopefully for the guys who, for example, brought a short-run car like a Seth DeMerchant, I wouldn't be surprised to see him come up at the end of this race. We know how NIS typically goes. You get these long green flag runs, and then, you get to 20 to go, and everything gets all wacky, and you come down to short runs. The short-run cars, they still have a chance here. They just, like Prince was saying, man, you gotta stay in it, keep fighting, hold on to the track position you can now, because if it comes down to those late race restarts, it's gonna get wild.
You bet it is. Takeaway there is it can become a very slippery slope if you're not careful. And
Absolutely.
Harrison Lyon is sure it doesn't happen as he continues to climb the mountain up into 11th place. Honeycutt still leading this race, by the way, but not particularly comfortably. Seth Knoll is keeping him very close company. In fact, he's not far away from making a move to get the lead of the race back from Honeycutt. But what I think he's doing right now, Justin, is sitting in and saving a bit of fuel.
Well, that and also just trying to work with his teammate, try and run off and away. In fact, the top 4 is doing exactly that. If they try and go side by side, or if Seth, let's say, tries to dive up the inside, Honeycutt, I think, is going to have that speed in the corners to just power away with the cleaner air and just make it stick. And then, guess what? Then you have Near and Ryder try and fight instead, and that allows Hernandez back into the fight. It allows Willis back into the fight. It allows Tanner Love into the fight. So again, I think just trying to stay in a line and work together until the pit stop, since we're approaching that window in about 4 to 6 laps or so at the very least, before a lot of these drivers may duck down.
I'm telling you, I'm not seeing anyway. This is a one-stop strategy for some of these drivers of least staying green, because we are nowhere near halfway at the moment. Malik Ray up into 16th, and it looked like he almost slapped the fence coming off of turn 2. It's certainly very close. He's got a whole pack of cars hungry. He lines up right behind him. That's Brendan Kohler, who's given him a big push. Gets a little bit unsettled down across the stripe. Trying to push him forward. And Malik coming over the radio as soon as he got that push. Look at what he said.
Want to see if we can listen on board though, Ryan, with a couple of these cars, and listen to the entry especially on some of these machines to hear if they're saving.
Yep. I just want to ball with Malik Ray. Ron Ball says to Merchant. So obviously out of the corner, you're fully in the throttle. You lift off the corner. You're going to find yourself going a lap down pretty quickly. But it's into the corners, as you say, where we might see some clutch being applied as Chase Mullins into pit lane. The Merchant not saving, not that time by.
An interesting thing I heard though when it came to doing reporting work for the Coke Series on Tuesday was drivers were telling them to saving when there were 2 to go on the good. That's where the strategy from Colin Keister came. So I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the drivers in the back, even some of the drivers who experienced that on Tuesday, held the clutch in, save fuel early so then they can push now and gain time. I think that's partly what we're now seeing from some of these drivers who are now all of a sudden gaining tons of time.
Malik is definitely clutching into the corners right now. And I do wonder if he's... Ooh, like Neo. What on earth happened there?
That was a power move, man. He went from 3rd to the lead on one straightaway. That's what happened there.
Can he hold it though? Honeycutt with the run coming off the corner. Seth Knowles going to dive down and give Blake Neer a helping hand and a shove back forward into the lead of the race. Can he clear him through 1 and 2? You bet he can. Not quite. Honeycutt up the racetrack.
A little bit too high. Yeah, a little bit too tight. Tried to squeeze down, I think, Honeycutt. But Neer just able to make it stick, and this is now crazy time just before the pit stops to get the track position.
Point I was going to make about Malik Ray is I wonder if he's back there on purpose because he knows how much fuel he can save with 15 cars punching an hole in the air for him. Definitely not out of the equation. James Mullins. That's his fresh tyre advantage. Look at how much faster he's able to drive around the outside of all of our leading drivers. That's the power of the undercut. The issue is he's 8 laps short in fuel.
Yeah, he looks like he's definitely committed to the 2-stop. But the important thing was passing by the leaders right there to make sure he gets on the lead lap in case things get crazy, especially since a couple drivers are now starting their pit calls to duck down to the lane in the next few laps or so.
This might just come down to a fuel-saving race. I think we've had one big notable fuel-saving race this season I can remember, Justin. As into pit road comes Will Norton.
Oh, and both of them overran their pit box. Those are teammates, mind you, for their technical lines. Both of them way too hot into the box, Ryan.
Yeah. You got to be careful. You don't have big brakes on these cars. In fact, you got very small brakes, smallest you can bring when you come to this big open racetrack. So the stopping power is not great. I'm trying to recall who won that fuel-saving run earlier in the year. Honeycutt into pit road. From the lead.
Some of the Nexus drivers were in practice sessions prior to tonight testing where to brake, the pit road speed, where they can try and gain time on pit road entry, especially Patrick Moose. So keep an eye on the entry for when that number 9 machine ducked down to the pit lane. Honeycutt was the first of that Nexus group to come down to hit their marks perfect in this stint.
Still out on the racetrack. a leading group with the exception of Honeycutt. There is now a massive spread across our top 10. 5 seconds. A lot of drivers have pitted. Seth Knoll might be coming to pit road this time as Honeycutt comes out of the lane. Right in that leading group he just left. Oisin Walsh is on the brakes and into his box as well. Seth Knoll down low. He's off the throttle. He's coming to pit road as Honeycutt back on the lead lap, and Blake Near's covered as well. And he might have overcooked it. I wonder if he'll escape the penalty there, because he definitely crossed the line faster than the speed limit.
It looks like Walsh had something happen as hit his pit box, in his pit stop rather. We'll have it come down a second time. May have had to try and check the fuel once again. Unfortunate for him, their 15-second pit stop as a result.
Shot. So he's gone through his pit box. This could be a double whammy for him if he stays stationary after those left sides are done. We know he's got a penalty. Seth Reiter still out on the racetrack. JD Willis still out on the racetrack as well. Blake Near has a penalty. He's still stationary in his box, speeding in pit lane. And that is catastrophic for his race.
And remember, you get a speeding penalty down the pit lane, especially in the entry and in the segments. That's a 40-second stop and hold during green flag racing conditions. That's going to be at least 1 lap down for him.
Still there. Cato Rush onto pit road. Majority of drivers have now pitted. It's only a little bit of... only a minority of drivers that are still on racetrack. Harrison Lyon's still out there. Alec Ray is still out there. Tanner Love comes to pit road. We're on lap 49 as you come across the stripe. We're 1 lap away from the magic halfway number to be able to make it on fuel. Tanner Love should be a lap short. But this is the strategy that we expected from some of the big drivers. They saved a ton of fuel, and they might make it to halfway here.
And it looks like JD Willis is already showing the nose. He has to pit this time. Looks like a couple of the low-line drivers also might not be able to make that extra important lap here. This is going to be tight for everybody else that's still on the racetrack. It looks like here.
They're all coming. They're
Yes,
all
indeed.
coming in. Harrison Lyon brings the rest of the field to pit road, and that is a stampede of race cars. They were 3 wide coming into the lane there.
It looks like they're okay, but here's something interesting. 2 Horizon cars were able to stretch in an extra lap here, as well as iRacing employee Samuel Roush. Everybody else couldn't make it 50.
Strauss and DeMerchant then. Could they be 2 drivers to watch with a one-stop strategy? Those guys that are a lap short, well, 1 lap in theory you should be able to save, but they would have had to save maximum just to get to where they did, so you have to wonder if they can make it. Of course, all this changes if you get a caution, doesn't it, Boyd?
Yeah, it's certainly a big gamble here. You know, Strauss and Seth are in a great position being where they are, but keep in mind, they have to do it again. I mean, all you can really save is that extra 2 or 3 laps without falling down too much, and they're right on the bubble. Like, they got to do this 1 more time and hope that we don't get those late race cautions we typically see in NIS.
Caution's
and there
out.
it is. And there it is.
Be
Oh, and it's Ray.
Ooh, big damage to the right side of that car. That's been pancaked into the outside safe barrier. Engine damage as well. Smoking as he's going to bring it pit lane. Samuel Roush was on pit road when it happened. He comes out. I think he went straight through. What happened to the 51 car?
And based on what we're seeing with him going straight to the grass, he's definitely not happy right now. He had just came out of the pit lane, mind you. There were 3 wide on the entry. What in the world?
Coming out of the lane, trying to bring up to speed. So he's slow now. And here come the 2 faster cars. He's in the middle of the racetrack. And 1 either side. Malik got loose by the looks of it.
Yeah.
Big hit for the 27 as well. Gabriel Mauricio. You see, he got to the right side, but he didn't touch him, but it took the air away from Ray, and that's all it needed for the car to go around on those cold tires.
Yeah, that's a rough one. Boyd, your perspective on that one is it looks like they have a couple modifieds because of that.
I mean, you know, I think it was a combination, like Ryan was saying, you know, he got the air kind of taken off his car a little bit, but I also think it was more, you know, you got to have a couple laps on these tires before you can get aggressive with them. And Malik came out in front of 2 cars at full speed, and I mean, you never want to do that, but when you do it, you don't want to hold them up. So I think it was more so just, you know, he got in a little over his head, and, you know, it took a couple cars out, but that's a product of this style of racing.
Now, it means that James Mullins, that early stop, emerged as the race leader, but he's come back to pit road, along with a host of drivers, including Caden Honeycutt, and a lot of the guys that pitted 5 or 6 laps before the caution have to come again because with the significant drop-off we have, their tyres would be in a completely different league to the ones that pitted a lap or 2 before the caution came out.
Yeah, at the very least, some of these drivers absolutely had to come down because of the earlier pit stops, or else they would be cooked. Campbell, he's in a spot where he can definitely make enough fuel, especially as the lucky dog. It's just going to be the matter of can he get the service done with the quickie yellows without falling half a track behind. But the tough part's now going to be for everyone else. It's going to be a little tight, but not too bad. They've only got about a couple laps on the tires overall. It's not as bad as, say, having to stay out like Ryder and Love have had to for that track position, or like Michael Abrams, who was that car on the bottom, mind you, who stayed out on 6-lap old tires.
Blake Neer has ended up trapped a lap down here. He's going to have to stay out to take the wave around. So, Ryder and Love are the race leaders. You'd expect at this point everyone can make it on fuel. With this caution period, you can save quite a bit. And obviously we saw it in the Cup Series as well. Everyone was able to save with that one caution early. But it does shake up our order just a fraction. With a bunch coming in under this caution period and a lot staying out.
I think it's, again, going to be a little tight for a couple of the drivers, but how do I phrase this? Usually whenever drivers feel like they can make it on fuel, that's when the intensity level cranks up. Every single time there's NIS. It also means drivers are more bold off the starts. And what's the saying? Cautions breed cautions. This could get hectic, let's just say that, with so many drivers feeling like they're going to be good to go on the fuel who are deep in the field. Who just topped off on fuel, mind you, and kept the old tires, like we've seen for Hernandez and company.
Well, our first caution of the day comes at the halfway point, at basically the critical lap in this race. We're going to restart with 46 to go when we come across the line. 100 laps at Michigan. We might be able to make it home from here without another pit stop. Can we make it green? Well, intensity level is going to skyrocket. It's Seth Ryder and Tanner Love on your front row. Donovan Strauss and Seth the Merchant, they're 3rd and 4th after that golden strategy. They've climbed a bunch. Coming back to the green. Ryder keeps them under the pace speed for quite some time. Then he jumps on the throttle and we are back under green flag conditions. And a glorious jump for Ryder.
But again, with the draft, it comes right back into play right here. Great exit for Strauss and DeMerchant. Fresher tires in the leader. Remember, they were great on the short run. His line's 3 wide.
Down low, he's got Moose and he's got Tanner Love to his outside as Strauss and DeMerchant are into the lead of the race. Lyons slides up into 4th. A lot of differing tire wears in this group. The fresher ones, well, they're out front. Don't think it'll be enough to allow them to pull away, though. With the power of the draft, certainly early on in this run.
And remember, the drivers you see now on your screen just topped off on the fuel, kept the track position, because we talked about tire limits. You want to have at least that extra set, just in case things get hectic towards the end, or say you get a caution after 15-20 laps. So many of the drivers held on to a set, like drivers like Willis, Overia, Samuel Roush. They ended up burning a set.
We're on board with Caden Honeycutt. He's been to pit road twice, so he's burned a set in this race, and he's behind a little aggressive group of drivers that were throwing blocks down the back straight in the last lap.
Remember, just noted Honeycutt again, what just topped off on the fuel line to make sure he can get to the end. He's got still 2 sets.
Okay. He's being held up here by Kohler and Abrams, who are running side by side. They're losing ground to the cars in front of them. Seth Noel, Mercurio, Levine, Honeycutt, stuck with nowhere to go. The battle for P9.
Abrams, one of the drivers who gained a lot of positions because of that caution flag and it's being able to stay out. Others also were able to jump up, like Kenny Brady, we haven't mentioned, hit the entire race. 17 of Braden Cooler. He's up towards the front. There's also been a swap, by the way, for the lead car with the Merchant swapping around. This is a big chance for them to try and hold on to the track position if things start to get hectic here, coming to 40 to go.
I think they're trying to keep each other out front. They're not running side by side through the corners. They're swapping around down the back straight. There's a bit of team play happening to those Horizon Racing team machines. As that's Mercurio in the 41 car. Started up inside the top 10. Finds himself just out of it at the moment with the way the caution fell. That's Seth Noel up in front, getting to the inside of Abrams, who finally lost out to Kohler. Going to lose out to Noel now as well. Looks like he's struggling just a bit for some car pace.
Abrams, the Screamer, trying to make a comeback, he said. Build up a Road to Pro campaign for 2021, but here's the perfect example of what we were talking about with the switch. Once the one driver feels like they're holding up the other, try to let each other go. If they don't feel like that's the case, Sprouts will just back up, just stay in line, try and work together to try and break the draft, especially since Ryder and the bigger part, Harrison Lyon, are just behind them in the next grouping.
The bumper of Seth Ryder gets Harrison Lyon. The top two have not been able to break away at all from the rest of the field. So Ryder's done a good job to stay with them. And Lyon almost into the left rear as he got to the inside, down the back straight, trying to sidedraft him and take the air away, slow the other car down. Not quite going to work, but through the corner, the inside line, the faster way through at the moment as Harrison Lyon goes up to third. And Seth Ryder was horrible through the corner that time. Patrick Moose able to get alongside him.
And just that lost momentum in the corner, having to try and back off and let Lyon go, I think is, again, just big enough to lose all the momentum for at least half the straight unless you get somebody to draft in front. But give credit to these two you see on screen, 7 and 8. Cora and Brady are still holding on to decent track position. It looks like, though, Brady may be overheating a little bit with that peak.
Up 62 here of 100, 39 to go. Harrison Lyon, he's got to the inside of Donovan Strauss, who at the time was trying to get to the inside of the Merchant. That obviously hasn't worked. And we could see a new leader in this race, and the man that started dead last. 37th to first, it took him 63 laps, but Harrison Lyon to the front.
And he was my pick for a reason tonight, Ryan. He's shown time and time again, he takes the cars that are very quick from the Coke race, And whatever he does in these races, he's able to clean up the mistakes he does with the main event. Very quick, very strong, can make everyone look silly by the time you get 20 laps into a run. We've seen that there. Now Seth Ryder, who was a lead car, mind you, before, because of those slightly older tires, is continuing to go backwards on the drivers who have even 2-lap fresher tires.
He mentioned earlier, after about 20 laps, we had a 2-second drop-off. That's why he's going back, because 2 laps should be 0.2 of a second, which adds up over the course of a run. Patrick Moose was able to follow Lyon through, so he's running second now. Matt Four-Carper's into 5th. He was running at the back of the top 10 for a lot of the first run. And there's JD Willis running in 9th place at the moment. Everyone's hunting for clean air at the moment, aren't they, Justin?
Now the problem is, you need to be the leader to kind of have that clean air for the most part. The draft, you can start feeling some of the effects at some of the big tracks. As far back as 2 seconds as someone's spinning down the back for the caution. Hernandez.
No damage that I can see on that car. He kept it off the fence and he was doing a few spins down there on the apron. Bring up caution, as you say. But how did he get down there?
Well, we've talked about it a little bit before, especially in June. You go underneath that first seam, especially by Apex. It can be very slick. He was loose in the first place in the corner, trying to build up a run against the 31. Just got his left sides against that seam. Just enough for him to hook and just turns it back around. It's close enough to our cars to trigger the caution flag since he was still on the pavement on the apron.
A little surprised, actually, it did bring out the caution. Generally, when you're on the apron like that, it doesn't. But we go back under the guard of the pace car with 35 to go. Everyone will come to pit road here, you would imagine, and this should equalize the tires, right, Boyd?
I would have to say yes. You've been out there for too long, you know, just long enough to where tires are going to make a huge difference for these guys. Anybody who stays out or, you know, tries any kind of tire strategy is definitely a sit and duck and just hoping on some late race yellows. So I expect to see everybody down here.
And this is going to make it a straight fight when we go back green with not many to go. Intensity level might go up another notch yet again. Harrison Lyon comes in and he goes straight into his pit box. It's the last one on the lane after starting dead last. In fact, he should get out after. The field should go by him before he comes back out.
And, oh boy. We talked about this a little bit, where Mullins had to use a set. He's elected to stay out here on the tire strategy. A lot of the others who came down for and used their second sets, they've elected to boot on their last sets, a couple of them. So this is going to be a tricky call here. Well, Honeycutt, he's kept his same tires as well.
Boyd?
Yeah, this is gonna be interesting. That's that's about all I got to say about that, man. This is gonna be crazy, and you know, I can't fault him. You know, you're expecting these late race yellows to happen, and we've seen it time and time again. So you know, it's gonna be interesting for sure. But if we get that late race yellow with 8 or 10, 15 laps to go, somewhere in that neighborhood, I think they've got themselves set up in a great position.
How's it viewed by other drivers, though? You come out of pit road, you see these two guys that have got the old tyre still on their car. You know they're going to be slow, and when you've got two very slow cars at the front, not because of their pace, but because of their tyres, it can really cause some chaos through the field, and there's often a little bit of heat from the guys that stayed out.
Yeah, in a way. It comes down to who it is. I mean, if I see Caden Honeycutt stayed out or James Mullins, somebody like that, obviously we see Honeycutt coming down now, but you know, guys like that, you understand they know the situation just as well as anybody else does. They're gonna get run over, and the game plan is they're trying to keep their cars clean for that late race restart. With banking on that, you don't want to get too aggressive if you're in James's position and get yourself wrecked because you're just simply in the way. And so, you know, James he's a veteran of iRacing, he's a veteran of NIS, he knows exactly what he's doing. You know, banking on these late race yellows, he's going to let everybody go by. He's going to be on his island all by himself, and if those late race yellows come, you know, all you can do in that position is kind of hope that you get that same respect from everybody else.
Honeycutt backed out. He came to pit road and booted some tyres back on. So it's just Mullins up at the front. Can be a bit sketchy as well, even if you're Mullins as the field goes blazing by you. Who knows? Maybe he might be able to stay up there. We'll see. Either way, he's got control of the field. He gets to control when we go back green. He can apply that power nice and smoothly. Don't spin the tyres up. And away we go. You'll have Harrison Lyon on his outside, the Merchant and Strauss lining up third and fourth for the second restart in a row. Kenny Brady up inside the top 10. I haven't seen him at all today. Alright, pace car's out of the way. Mullins with control. He gets on the throttle. We're back underway. Green flag in the air.
Right there, Line just taking advantage of the bad start from the Merchant to get right to the bottom. But I think as soon as they go, especially into the corner, this is going to be right where everyone starts to blaze on by, especially 3 and 4.
Still leading, and getting slowed up. One either side for James Mullins. Lyon down low, the Merchant up top, and he had the better run. He goes to the lead of the race. Can he hold it though, as Strauss gave Lyon a shot. Now moves up, trying to help out his teammate, who got a little bit loose through turn 4 that time. Mullins, by the way, is now outside of the top 5 already.
And at this point, again, what Boyd said, just let everybody go, keep the car clean, especially when things get a little bit hectic here as the Horizon cars, using teamwork, this is what we've seen in June, play advantage at the front of the field in some of those late race stages. Meanwhile, Lyon, he's currently on his own island here in terms of health.
He's not on his own island in terms of traffic position right now. They're 3 wide, very tight in front of him. And they're making contact right up the racetrack, into the 20, into the fence. We stay green. Ryder checks up, goes backwards. They were 4 wide for a moment. That was dicey. That was JD Willis, his 20 car. He got shuffled up and into the safety barrier. It was Patrick Moose on the low side that triggered it. They're 4 wide again as Ryder continues to lose pace. Now he's able to gather it back up.
Yeah, this is not looking pretty at this point. At this point, Willis, I think, is a sitting duck unless they get a caution to try and fix the car. But look at Justin Levine all of a sudden. He's now got good position.
There's more contact. The Ryder again in the middle. Gets hit from down low. This time it was Campbell. Checks up the field once more.
And a lot of the drivers are upset right now over the radio with how Ryder's been running at this point. Meanwhile, they are 2 to 3 wide still at the back of the field. That machine for Elliott Sauer Esports has been shuffled all of a sudden from the top 5 all the way to the end of the top 25 with all the craziness.
I think I saw 8 different drivers in the space of 10 seconds flash up on this screen on the little radio box as they lit up the radios to complain about what's going on around them. As Ryder's back to 21st now. Yeah, things have not gone as well on this restart, that's for sure. Brad Wright up inside the top 10, running a 9th. Things are a little bit calmer up here.
Like one of the HPM entries for Road to Pro this season. He's just been having a nice
Oh, they're wrecking! The Death Rider's gone around. Hernandez with a piece of it as well. Caution's out.
I think this happened in front of him that started the trigger. Hernandez and Norden.
Wow.
And just nowhere to go.
Yeah. But there wasn't much contact between Norton and Hernandez, if any, to send Hernandez around in front of Ryder. Seth Knoll, nowhere to go.
Right there. Right in the middle of the corner exit. You're not avoiding that unless you have some miracle.
boy.
I mean, you know, I said it earlier and I'll say it again. That's just the product of this kind of racing. You get that close with each other, and
Yeah.
netcode's bound to happen at some point. You know, it definitely sucks for Hernandez. He was one of the stronger guys on that long run that we had. Seth obviously was getting beat around, but you know, he started off strong. It's never how you want to end these deals, but nothing anybody could do really. I mean, Will gave him plenty of room, and Hernandez gave Will plenty of room, and it was just, you know, netcode came down and ended a couple guys' days.
Field stays out. James Mullins comes to pit road. He'll have fresh tyres. Now, Seth Knoll comes with him, but he just got damaged from that incident. That run was about 7 or 8 laps. Mullins will have an advantage here, but I don't think, Boyd, it'll be enough of an advantage. What do you think?
I don't believe so. I think I would have stayed out and gambled on one more stop. I mean, it's already such a big gamble. We had about, it's looking like 4 or 5 green flag laps, and that's, you know, you're gonna be blazing in comparison to everybody else on the short run, but it's gonna equal out so fast on the long run. I don't think it's gonna make much of a difference. That being said, though, James he was one of the first guys on pit road, so I think it was more so just a balancing act in his tire situation in comparison to everybody else. I think we're on the same playing field now.
Yep. Yeah, it was a 4-lap run. Not quite 7 or 8, I thought it was initially. It felt like 7 or 8 with all the action we had.
Oh,
Thought we were going to have a caution. It was crazy.
It was.
But that is exactly what we expect at the end of these NOS races. The quality of the field means we stay green for quite often a long run at some point, but when you turn the aggression level up and you throw this package at them, that means they're all bunched up. It's bound to result in a little bit of chaos at some point. So DeMerchant and Strauss will have the front row to themselves for the first time. As Samuel Roush exercises his iRacing star privileges and is playing God with a few of the drivers' chat privileges at the moment.
Uh-oh.
As you do. 1 to go. We'll go green next time by. DeMerchant and Strauss, gotta say, that staying out, as long as they could in that early run, it didn't work out how they wanted it to, you know, going green to the end, but it still worked out tremendously well for them because they've restarted on the second row, last 2 jumps. Now they've got the front row, and they've looked fast.
Yeah, this is where having teammates side by side on the start is very, very helpful. Likely we'll get a count together, whether it's on pace car, whether it's the standard 3 count, is going to be the big question. The important thing, though, is for Strauss to get to the bottom and not let the 17 get side by side by the time to get off the turn 1. Because that's where the whole advantage of them being on the front row breaks up. And that's where everyone else tries to take advantage, and then all of a sudden you have calamity down the back.
DeMerchant, Strauss, Kohler running 3rd highest he's been today for Carper. Levine, Lyon, Brady, Moose, Wright, Roush, your top 10. A few new names up atop the top 10 who have not been there for most of the race, and a few who've been there all day long. Let's try this again with 25 to go, 24 across the stripe. Green flag back in the air, the Horizon cars jump in unison.
That's to be expected, and the exact launch they needed. The bottom line didn't get going, though, and everyone's trying to freight train one of the low-line machines in Matt Forkaba. He's not been able to find some space.
No, he's not. DeMerchant and Strauss got single file pretty quickly. Now Strauss on the back bumper of DeMerchant pushing in because behind the run that Kohler got was pretty strong with the help from Levine. For Carper up top has held on nicely and gets his momentum back. On board with Brad Wright running in 9th place. They're 3 wide in front of him just about. Up.
No sudden movements, just trying to keep him moving with that bump draft. But Mac Kappa's just held everyone up off the top line again. Got a bit squirrely. Kenny Brady nearly hit him. They're nearly 3 again.
Oh, that was tight. 3 cars banged doors that time down the back straight. Patrick Moose watching his mirrors as Mercurio and Wright almost wrecked. Harrison Lyons got himself up inside the top 5 now. Always present. Tight move from Patrick Moose to fill the hole in front of Carper.
Well, he had to be cutthroat to try and hold on to that spot, especially what's happening right behind him. Brady, he's in a good spot to work with Brad Wright to get clear drivers. Still give credit to Samuel Welsh. He's a competitive driver in his own right. Remember, worked with some various different teams in the early part of the last decade. Now, he's got the chance to take away that I Beat an iRacer staff badge, including drivers like Tanner Love.
On board Roush. Nowhere to go at the moment with Honeycutt up top and Mercurio right in front of him. He'll move up to the highlight and try to follow Honeycutt, but he didn't have a particularly good run coming out of turn 2. There's an opportunity for Mercurio to slide up in front of him here. Honeycutt goes by one up top and goes by another one down low. He's coming through the field now. It's further up there, 3 wide. That's Lyon in the middle. Moose down low. Levine up top. Moose going to lose out before Carper gets a glorious run.
I don't think Moose realized they're 3 wide at first, but I think you have to be a bit nervous with the pace we're seeing from Honeycutt to be able to dice through the field. Exactly what we've seen a little bit from him in the start of this race. Just cutting past his own teammates and looking like everyone's standing still with how much speed he's able to carry. Much more throttle time in the corners, especially when he's on that second groove. Next driver up for grabs, the man you're on board with, Kenny Brady on that top line that's now holding him up.
Top 3 have almost broken away here. 4 tenths they've got over the chasing pack. Need to be careful. They don't hold each other up any more than they are already, as they're 2 by 2 and no one's making progress. The Merchant, Strauss and Kohler, your top 3. And then a gap back to Levine and Lyon.
Honeycutt just trying to get air to the nose at this point down the straightaways. There's a point where you can add a fairly decent amount of tape to the car, just be inside the red, but if you save your temps for a couple laps, you're good and fast the rest of the way. Honeycutt's looking like that direction. And now, getting some help with Roush as he's finally got some clean air to the nose to get towards the front of this pack.
Lyon and Ryder both, not Ryder, sorry, Levine both coming over the radio for a moment there. I wonder if they both clue onto the fact that they need to go single file. Otherwise, top 3 are going to disappear into the sunset. As Lyon pulls a gap on Levine, who throws the block on Carper, who tries to get to his inside. Samuel Roush behind, drifts up the racetrack, almost to the door of Patrick Moose. That was very tight, about as tight as you want to get.
Everyone being pushed right to their limits right now, to say the very least. Gonna have to keep an eye out, though, what happens at the front of this group now. Lyon's taken off and away. He's a 1/10 of a second quicker than the leaders. But with how hard they've been trying to block, this may get crazy as the car's having trouble off too. Still green. I think it was Blake near Ryan that nearly got wrecked, as well as Campbell at the back of the field.
Yeah, Campbell was definitely solely picked him up there. And Blake Neer is now running 21st. Big shame for him because he was running up the front for quite a lot of this race. Top 4. Harrison Lyon has got ahead of Kohler. A wiggle from DeMerchant. Strauss into the back of him. Lyon to the inside. That was very close.
Showing the exact pace we were seeing a little bit in the first run. Now that he's got the track position, this is the chance for him to try and break the draft and run away. Especially that's still deep side by side.
Guess who's back inside the top 10? Just about. James Mullins into 11th. He's 3 wide. Down on the low side. The bright purple machine. Haven't seen the last of him. 15 to go. Fresh tyres to the 15.
And if this goes green, Ryan, he might be in a great spot here. But they're still side by side, 2 rows deep for the race lead. Not giving each other too many inches.
No one is going to lift at this point. You're not giving anyone a chance to get out into the lead of the race. Here comes Honeycutt through the middle, up into 4th place for the 6th car. Lion takes it away, gets a shove from DeMerchant. Honeycutt blocks Strauss and Kohler into 2nd, trying to lead for the first time today as Levine gets sideways, Moose gets sideways. Everyone is on the edge right now.
Oh,
and Mullins is
Oi.
off the track.
Keeps the car relatively straight, loses 15 spots. What a shame, because he was charging back through the field.
I think it was with Kenny Brady, in fact, Ryan, where he was trying to make the pass on the outside. Let's see if we can try and get a look if we can with all this craziness still going on, but basically got squeezed into the fence.
And that's the drama you put yourselves in. If you go for the strategy to charge through and you put yourself in the pack, you never know what might happen, and that's the risk of not having track position. Lion leading Honeycutt. Arguably the 2 fastest drivers outright today are up in the top 2 now. Kohler running 3rd. He's been there or thereabouts all day long. 2nd and 3rd's the highest we've seen him. 12 to go here in Michigan.
Don't think this race is over at this point. With how exciting this has gone here, this can go to either one of them. Both of these cars have been fast. Both of them have been good in the corners. Both of them have been solid on the long run. This could be difficult to figure out who's even going to come away with this checker flag here, Boyd.
yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, I think Caden and Harrison have obviously been the strongest guys, but I think if it comes down to that drag race coming to the line, I got to take Nathan on this one. And mainly because I thought Caden could get more of that damage picked up, but I just don't think he's going to be able to lead quite like Lion can.
Behind, Patrick Moose got by Strauss, couldn't quite get by DeMerchant. Those Horizon cars are falling back, turning around, hooked into the fence by Strauss. We're still green.
No,
How on earth?
Wow. That's going to have a heated discussion. Levine also involved in that one, but the leader's still going. I'm surprised we are still green. That was right in the heart of the pack.
Maybe Samuel Roush should throw a caution for that. That was wild. And that has absolutely destroyed the pack. There's a huge gap now across our top 5. And everyone has been broken up. And that has disadvantaged at least half the field. That's why the cautions exist on oval racing. For some reason, it didn't fly. 10 to go.
Well, this just became interesting for these 3 cars. Again, Lion has been very quick to be able to break away the draft in the corners. Honeycutt's also been good in the corners. The question mark has still been that 17 car, with him being in the highest track position of the race, and at times showing speed, but not a driver you normally see up at the front, as that second group is still fighting back about 7th on back.
Samuel Roush, I mentioned he might have thrown a caution. It would have been unfair to influence a race like that, even if a caution should have come out regardless. He's here to race, not to adjudicate. That's Osher and Walsh down low, squeezing very close to contact.
Remember, he was the lucky dog earlier in this race. Able to get back on the lead lap, and now the pace is there, one of the Nexus cars.
Top 3, by the way, covered by a quarter of a second. It's a second back to the next car of the Merchant, running by himself. So's Norton in 5th. And then that second group, Collins, Roush, and Walsh, who make contact.
Oh, I don't know if Roush is going to like that one. Try to go for the side draft to the point where they made door-to-door contact as Rush was trying to arc it. But again, still 3 wide with several of the drivers who are on the mixed strategies here.
This is that third group. Jake Hickson into 11th. Where on earth has he come from? Justin Rowden, same story, in 12th. 7 laps left, and the way some of these guys are racing, it might not be green to the end. Who knows? As still out front, it's Lyon from Honeycutt. Kohler is running in 3rd. Are they biding their time? Does Lyon have enough?
Just looks like a bit of the dirty air is just hurting Honeycutt on corner exit especially. That's the one thing that I think too, with how he's lifting, he doesn't want to take it to the wrong spot and then have to fight right on back, as we've seen a couple times in this race.
3 wide again, behind them, Hickson, Kenny Brady and Brad Wright. That is an angry pack of cars that have all been thrown way off contention for the lead by that big incident. And they are fighting for everything they can get here. Going to come to 5 to go this time by Eduardo Oliveira, but in that group as well.
Yeah, this is getting fairly intense once again. I don't know how this is all going to shake out, especially with drivers willing to send it, knowing this is points paying time. Chance to gain the IR, chance to gain the valuable points for the championship fight. To try and get them some... Yes, indeed, that too.
Brad Wright with drivers stacked up behind him. In a battle for P10. 4 to go. Can we get there? Under green. Up at the front, it's still status quo. The top 3 not changing.
Yeah, in fact, they're actually gaining on Seth Merchant, who's on his own on an island. But this third group, again, just hurting themselves in time to try and reel in the second pack with how they've been able to fight. It's still Collins and Walsh who are closing in, trying to drop back up to Will Norton here as once again they swap.
Walsh got the lucky dog earlier in this race and is now on for a solid top 10. Not a bad day for him. Kohler's falling off the back of Honeycutt and Lyon here. Now it's just a 2-car fight. I don't know if Honeycutt's got enough. That little bit of damage on the left side over the fender. Is it hampering him? 2 to go. This time by.
Boy talked about it a little bit. We would see him back up here. But as he mentioned a few laps ago, that damage just may be a little bit of enough to hurt the factor. If I'm Honeycutt, though, I need to be bumper to bumper, just about towards the start and finish line the last lap to set up any chance to win this race if this stays green.
He's starting to fade. He should be in position to get a run here, but he's not getting it. Harrison Lyon by 2 car lengths. Make it 3 down the back straight. Through 3 and 4. Has Honeycutt got anything left in that car? Out of 4. White flag in the air. One more time around in Michigan, and it's Honeycutt trying to chase down Lyon. He's got him by a couple car lengths at the moment.
Honeycutt just looks a little too aero-tight right now to try and close up this gap in the corners right here. It's where Lyon's just been able to plant the gas down with the cleaner air. He's going to need to hope for a mistake or something as Lyon's trying to break this draft.
Down the back straight, he moves it across. But Honeycutt still too far back. He's made no progress. Cole is continuing to fade as well. Through 3 and 4 for the final time today. From dead last to the front. Harrison Lyon. A stellar drive. Lyon wins in Michigan.
He likes to play on hard mode. And 1 car in the grass. That's Seth Merchant. Going off through the grass and still holding on to 4th position in the craziness.
And there was some real close battle to the line behind them. We've got a few replays to queue up as well of some crazy incidents in that final run. It didn't affect our top 3. Everyone behind them got watered up and slowed up by that big incident. But a great drive from Harrison Lyon nonetheless, Boyd.
Yeah, he definitely put on a show all day long. One of the best cars here for sure. I wonder if Caden was maybe just, he knew about the damage obviously, and maybe just waited a little too long to make his move. But Harrison absolutely came in today. His plan was to put on a show, obviously, starting dead last, and he did just that, man. It was crazy. He's best car here for sure.
Burning it down across the Michigan International Speedway start-finish line. Here's how they finished then. At the end of 100 laps. No, we'll look at the replays first.
And you can see a lot of the craziness. This is what happened behind was set to merge, and believe this would be coming towards the final laps. This pack, he was trying to hold on as hard as we can. We mentioned they were trying to work together here. This is actually with the incident with Patrick Moose and what we were talking about. On corner exit, Moose tries to go the middle line. Strauss is trying to line it up. Right there, just hooks him.
Wow. Can we stay green because Moose's car kept quite a lot of speed as it spun. And he kept it pointed in the right direction for the most part. And this is what happened to Mullins, who could have challenged with those fresher tyres till this happened, boy.
Yeah, it looks like he was definitely saving him there early on, as I was expecting, and he's slowly picking his way through the pack, and looks like Kenny just washed up a little bit. James pinched him, and ultimately just a racing deal. James got put in the fence, and unfortunately ended his night.
Big shame for Mullins. A few drivers be feeling hard done by. Let's look at our results then. At the end of 100 laps, Harrison Lyon, a winning margin of 2.5 tenths of a second over Kohler in third as well. Honeycutt in second. Seth the Merchant, Will Norton, 4th and 5th. Ossian Walsh, Dalton Collins coming home 6th and 7th out of Samuel Roush, Chen Love, and Justin Rowden a top 10.
11th spot tonight going the way of Jake Hickson. Quiet race from 33rd position. While Kenny Brady, he was involved in some of the incidents as we talked about with the squeeze. He finishes in 12th despite the right rear damage. Brad Wright in 13th, Oliveira in 14th, Zach Hudson quietly in P15. Your pole sitter Blake Neer was in contention for the first half of the race before his speeding penalty lost him a lap, had to take a wave around, then got involved in trouble in the pack and in several incidents, finishes 16th with a damaged race car. Mercurio finishing 17th, one of your contenders in Road to Pro having a rough night in NIS. Mulliken coming home in 18th, Abrams and Garrett Kite coming home out inside the top 20, Ryan.
Rest of your results will scroll through on your screen because we're going to have a chat to our race winner, Harrison Lyon, from the back to the front. It just looks too easy for you.
That's fun. It's fun to do these on Friday to race against some good friends and start in the back, kind of learn the track a little bit better too for next time I come here in Coke.
Yeah, well, you ran here earlier this week, obviously in the Coke Series. How much did that help you tonight in terms of knowing what you need from the setup, how the car races, and things like that?
It definitely helped a lot. Any time racing in Coke before doing one of these is going to help tremendously just because of how close and hard the racing is in the Coke Series. It definitely taught me the same strategy as tonight. Try and one stop it, save your tires because the last 20 laps really mean a lot in each run. Try and get to the clean air too because that does help save tires a little bit better.
Hey, if we had gone green, you put it a lap shy of 50. How confident were you could have made it to the end?
I definitely would have made it. Our set can do 50, so I just would have had to save a little bit extra that run. But I don't know if I would have beaten Seth or Donnie because they stayed out that extra lap. So they had that extra lap of fuel and can go just that much harder than I can. So I don't think I would have been able to beat them if it went green, but definitely probably a top 5 day.
Well, we didn't go green. We got quite a few cautions. And you, as always, seem to pop up right there when it mattered. Who are the people that help you get it done?
Everyone at Dead Zone, Houston Hammer, Dustin Linger for the set every week. Everyone at Roush Racing for having me on board for 2020. Cosman at Splash and Go Graphics for all the paint schemes this year. It's so cool to be able to run those replicas each week. And of course, you guys for doing the broadcast every Friday night. It's a lot of fun to just chill on a Friday night and do these races for fun.
Cheers, a lot of fun to watch, and hopefully we see you back next week.
Thanks, guys.
Nathan Lyon coming home with the win. Justin, who you want to chat to? Caden Honeycutt or Cola?
Yes, indeed. Caden Honeycutt. Caden Honeycutt coming home in second had a rocket ship that was comparably as quick, if not faster at times, than what Nathan Lyon had tonight. Caden, first things first, how are you feeling coming home second tonight in an exciting battle?
Yeah, man, it was a great race. I had some damage early, and I just tried to stay out front. I knew that we couldn't really make it on gas from the way it was made, but that's what we were going for. We were hoping for a caution. Ended up getting one, and I had to stay out on like 3 or 4 lap old scuffs, so I had to settle around 12th or 11th where I was at. And eventually, we got the caution, came in, took our tires, and actually forgot. It didn't recheck my tires or fuel or anything, so I had to come all the way back in and restart 34th that last run on the same set. So it kind of took a toll a little bit on the tires, but we still managed what we had and still came home around second. Nathan had a really good set. I just got tight at the end to stay with them, and no surprise, they won the Coke race here, so they've been fast all week long here. So we just came up a little short, but we'll be back next week.
Yes, indeed. That technical alliance came home with a victory with Case Kerwin for his machine, but Boyd Hogan was making his broadcast debut tonight. I believe has a question for you, Caden.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, hell of a run. I mean, you got that left front banged up by Seth earlier on in the race, and coming down to the last little bit, obviously you didn't get all of it quite fixed up, or it didn't all buff out. Did that kind of come into when you were going to make a move?
It really actually felt like I lost that last bit of draft straightaway speed, and it was about 8 seconds to fix. Yeah, I'm really surprised I didn't completely fix it, but yeah, I had maybe 1 or 2 miles an hour off right at the end of the straightaway. So the suck up wasn't really as much as it needed to be, but I still think Nathan would have held me off regardless. Because man, they just had a really fast set this week. So no matter what, I'm very proud of Rexus Esports, James, Patrick, Robert, who was unable to be with us. He had to go back to the Army. We really hope he's home safe, and hopefully he can come back with us soon. And I'll just come back and hopefully be better than Dead Zone next time.
No kidding. Well, it was a good run.
Want to ask you one quick question. Thank you very much, Boyd, for your question. It's the Daytona Road Course next on the calendar. One of the first times we've seen an in-season change for NAS competition. First of all, will we see you on the road course? Second, what do you think we will see on said road course come next week?
Well, it really depends on when my schedule can line up. I actually start school next week in person, not online. So that's going to be kind of a bit of a challenge, but I think what you'll see from the road course is people giving a lot of space because it's a new track. So, I mean, you're going to race it a couple times before the broadcasted Friday night race. I think people will start to get used to it, and then we'll start seeing some hard racing. But I really imagine if Coke guys run, they'll be pretty dominant, especially since they're going to be having a lot of more track time, and they're just more familiar with it. I imagine the chicane and the backstretch chicane is going to be. I can't really imagine the carnage that's going to happen. So we're just have to stay tuned for that and to see if everybody gives and takes. But no, it should be a good race. But regardless of a good race tonight, we'll be back at Dover if I'm not there next week.
Who do you want to thank for being a part of your 20th to second place finish run?
Thank you to Friends of Jacqueline Foundation on the Road to Pro side. Very good foundation. They'll go look them up at foj.com. Thank you to Nexus Esports, Zach, for letting me on back in January. Really appreciate him. I've learned a lot through my racing career, and also thanks to everybody that was watching. Thanks to everybody that came out and raced tonight. It was kind of a hectic race, but we gathered it up a little bit and raced hard at the end, and that's what we like to see.
Congratulations on the P2 tonight.
Thanks, guys.
That's Caden Honeycutt coming home in second tonight. He's also, mind you, one of the drivers fighting for the bubble spot in Road to Pro. One of the drivers who we have not spoken to this season, Brandon Cooler, coming home in P3. How are you feeling after tonight?
I'm feeling pretty good. That was a surprising run. Just started out at a new team, Elliott Souther Esports. Got to thank Wyatt and Elliott and everybody over there. It was had a rocket, started at the back, went that first run saving fuel, and it drove the tires off of it that last run, but still happy to come away with a P3.
Explains where the speed comes through, especially Elliott Souther Esports with a victory on Thursday in that race with Garrett Maines. How are you feeling now that you're a part of that new organization and getting the chance to show what you can do in these cars, from essentially a massive leap from being around mid-pack in some of these races to being now a front row contender if you get the positioning?
Yeah, I'm feeling great about it. They got a great group of guys over there. Probably one of the best group of guys I've seen. We get along great, and the great thing about our team is everyone on our team knows how to adjust on setups, which is something I haven't had in a long time. So I'm looking forward to it. I didn't know if I was going to run this race, and then decided to run it, and right from the drop of the green, I knew this thing was going to be a rocket. So I'm pumped for what we have going through the future. Get my hands on some of these setups.
You get your hands next week very dirty when it comes to the Daytona Road Course. First of all, how are you feeling about having the chance to be getting the chance to race at the road course before the real world drivers do in real life, while also getting to race against many others who look to survive said road course?
Yeah, I'm gonna make myself look like a dang fool next week, but I know we'll have some great setups. Got some road course ringers that are really fast on road. We got someone win on Tuesday in second split, and for Road to Pro, I'm looking forward to it, but I'm probably not going to run the best, but I'm still looking forward to it. I need to get some road course experience.
I believe that's in reference to Vicente Salas, who charged up from P27 to 13th, with drop weeks factored in with that victory, by the way, you talked about. But who do you want to thank for being a part of your first top 3 of the season?
I got to thank everyone at Elliott Souther Esports, Elliott, Wyatt, Seth, who was in this race and helped build the baseline, and Michael and Liam and Blake and Vicente, and I'm probably forgetting some people, but it's just got a great group of guys, and looking forward to running up front some more.
Congratulations on the top 5 finish tonight.
Thank you.
Brand Kohler coming home in P3 tonight. Ryan, over to you.
And that brings us to the end of our coverage. What a race we saw. What a battle. Plenty of wild moments, as we come to expect in the NASCAR iRacing series. But I'm sure next week might just top it when we go to the Daytona Road Course for the first time in NASCAR competition. And it'll be live right here on the iRacing Esports Network at 9 p.m. Eastern Time next Friday night. Make sure you're tuning in for what is going to be a crazy day. But for today, from myself, Ryan Jones, Justin Prince, and Boyd Hogan alongside Jay Kennedy behind the scenes, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.
This is fantastic. This is GT racing right now.
He's got traction. He's got everything outside of both of them. Maloney.
Oh, he's taking Anderson. Anderson's up to
Oh my God! Oh, big crash. Oh my goodness, half the field's going to get rolled.
Second very close. These guys are want to make their way through the field very quickly.
Oh, there we go.
Oh no! That's massive! This is it! This is over! I can't believe this! Oh my God!
God, what?